All right, so thank you all very much for coming to this first event in a series of events. We hope this will be a series of events. So I'd just like to start by briefly introducing the Cambridge Resilience Webs. The Cambridge Resilience Webs, we're a fairly new group, about a year now, and we've created these webs, which are they're interactive digital visualizations of environmental and social justice related organizations working in and around Cambridge. And we've currently got two webs. There's a city web and a university web. So what inspired these webs? Well, we wanted to create a visual directory of local groups to help people find out what's going on, what's available, where to get advice on particular topics, and where people could volunteer if they wanted to. We found they're a great way to showcase and celebrate the amazing number and variety of local groups. We also wanted to enable groups working on similar issues to find each other, to connect up, which helps build local resilience. And it gives us all a sense of being part of a larger movement when we see all these groups together, which supports this larger movement to bring about change at a larger scale. So these are our hopes for creating these webs. Just to introduce the team, who are all here, although I guess we can't see each other. So we're quite a big team. We're really just enjoying creating these webs. And just to say that everyone is welcome to get involved. So if it's something that interests you, please do get in touch. So we come to the talk. So our lineup for tonight, we've got Cambridge Cycling Campaign with Roxanne DeBow, Cambridge Community Kitchen with Tim Morley, Cambridge Curiosity and Imagination with Richard Mclean, Resettle Chesterton with Nikki Webb and Ruth Sapsed, and 6 Inches of Soil with Claire Mackenzie. So just to introduce a little bit how it's going to work this evening, we're doing a Pecha Kucha style event. And what that means is that our speakers have 20 slides and each slide will last for 20 seconds. So it's a really rapid fire way of presenting. So it keeps everything moving quickly, but it does mean we can't really take questions during the talk. So we'll save all the questions and discussion either for Discord or for the end. So I'm just going to hand over to Helen to tell you a little bit about Discord and how that works.
Thanks, Anna. So because these Zoom style presentations can be a little impersonal, we wanted to also have a place where the audience can have some more discussion among themselves and potentially with the speakers. So we have this Discord. The link is in the chat. I'll paste that again in a minute. And this is a kind of text-based chat where we can, have a conversation about the talks. And if you get into the Discord, on the side and the bottom, there are channels for the Pecha Kucha. We have a channel for each speaker, for each talk, and one generally for conversation about the event. If you have any trouble with that, just message at help, and I can help point you at whatever you need to know to use the Discord. So great, we hope we can have some conversation there. Also, I just wanted to say we'll keep the Discord up, so this can be a place to build community kind of on an ongoing level as well, not just for tonight.
Thank you very much, Helen. So, yes, and if you aren't on Discord, you can also pop your questions into the Zoom chat, which is being monitored. And what will happen is that at the end, or after the talks, people who've asked questions will be invited to ask them to the speakers. So that's, another way of asking questions of our speakers. So I think that brings us to the talks themselves. So can we welcome our speakers? And our first speaker is Roxanne DeBow, who's going to tell us about Cambridge Cycling Campaign.
Hi everyone, I'm Roxanne from CamCycle. If you haven't heard of us before, we are Cambridge Cycling Campaign, and we are a local charity with 1,630 something members at the moment. And we work for more, better and safer cycling for all ages and abilities in and around Cambridge. So as I mentioned, we're a membership charity, and it's our members that really do the magic work of CamCycle through responding to planning applications, consultations, organising events, publishing our magazine, and liaising with the many, many stakeholders involved in our transport system. I've been working for CamCycle for 7 years now, and I believe cycling is a great way to get around for all of our everyday journeys and perhaps our slightly less everyday journeys, but just showing you my credentials here. But like I said, cycling is for our everyday journeys, and the more cycling we have, the better our region. And cycling benefits everyone, even if they don't ride a bike. We like to see a region of happy, healthy people. As I said, local businesses thrive, our education establishments can thrive, and where anybody who wants to could ride a bike. And we have great rates of cycling for the greater Cambridge region. So beyond the city, we've got 48% of people cycling once a week, and 82% of people would support more cycling infrastructure like cycle tracks. But there are still 15% of people at least who would like to cycle, but don't feel safe to do so. So that's what our campaign Zero Carbon Streets is all about. It's about helping local people identify the changes that they need in their communities to make their streets safe for active and sustainable travel. So what is it that makes a zero carbon street, or that gives us good cycling infrastructure? Well, firstly, it's complete cycling networks. A cycle journey is only as good as its weakest link. So there's no point having patches of cycling infrastructure. It has to be connected up so that someone feels safe enough for the whole journey. Because if there's one spot you don't feel good in, you're not going to do the whole ride. And I think we all know those spots that we're a bit scared of. So we can achieve that through nice, segregated, protected cycle lanes. So that means separate from cars, protected from cars by space and from people walking. But we can also look to our quieter back streets and reduce traffic in certain areas with simple things like bollards. And this creates a modal filter, good for people cycling and walking, but let's keep the cars to the roads where they should be. The other thing we really need are safe junctions. And these are the really tricky parts. They're hard to design, they're hard to implement. But if you don't have the safe infrastructure, they're very difficult to cycle through. And we've seen some great innovation in Cambridge, like the first for the country, the Dutch roundabout or Dutch style roundabout. What we also have on Histon Road is the Cyclops Junction, which has this separate space and phasing for people to walk and cycle around the junction. So we're doing this protected, separated infrastructure, either by space and or time, so you can get safely through a junction. And that's what CamCycle is campaigning for. What we also need is inclusive infrastructure. This isn't about, the mammals. This is for everybody. We want to see children, people who maybe have mobility challenges, who might want to use a recumbent or a hand cycle, infrastructure that works for them. So it's got to be flat, smooth, and we've got to get rid of those pesky barriers. If you can't get a buggy or a wheelchair or a cargo bike through, it's just not an inclusive cycle route. And that also means getting rid of things like cars parked on the pavement, parked in the cycle lane, making sure we've got those dropped curbs, etc., in the right places. And CamCycle has been going on about this for a long time, but the landscape has changed substantially over the last few years, with the government, the Department for Transport, bringing out some really bold moves. We've got this new vision gear change for cycling and walking, and it's supported by Cycling Infrastructure Design Guidance, Local Transport Note 1/20. And I know this is a local talk we're doing here, but this is changing everything, and this is what we need to be keeping our eye on. The government is now saying, this is what we want to see locally, and we can be connecting up. And this is our moment. This is our time to really start pushing this case forward. So not only do we have this wonderful vision, but we've got standards. Hooray! So every project for transport should now be a cycling and walking project integrated with it. And we should be having these wonderful standards like separate infrastructure, direct routes. Let's not have these situations where cyclists are expected to just get off their bike. You can't do that if you maybe only have one leg, for example. And what we're also seeing is a really shift in how we think about how people should interact on the road. So for those people with greater responsibility, larger, more dangerous cars, that's now acknowledged. And for those more likely to be injured, we're saying they need more priority. But what's CamCycle doing about keeping people safe and cycling in a responsible way? Well, we've got our leaflets like Welcome to Cycling in Cambridge, which we try to get out to all the students when they arrive in Cambridge in September. And we've got some video and social media content that goes with that. We also have a big campaign at the moment called Love Your Bike or Save Our Cycles, which is trying to tackle the issue of cycle theft. So we've got some videos and leaflets about that, how to keep your bike safe, or what to do if unfortunately it does get stolen. And our campaigning on this issue has had a great effect over recent months, with a big reduction in rates of cycle theft. Our other famous campaign, of course, is the Chisholm Trail and the Abbey Chesterton Bridge, really connecting communities. Lovely picture of it here. And underneath we have a range of cargo bikes lined up from our recent cargo bike promotion project. And we have a wealth of resources online now about how you might be able to use a cargo bike to replace your car, or to improve your business, or get your kids to school. If you like what we do, I mentioned our Zero Carbon Streets campaign. On the 22nd of April, we have a fundraising campaign launching where donations to CamCycle will be matched through the Green Match Fund. So if this sounds good and you'd like to support us, perhaps a donation in April, or you could become a member of CamCycle, become a supporter, host an event, advertise in our magazine, write some content for us. You could deliver leaflets, write a letter. You know, we send weekly emails with some really great instructions of, if you support this infrastructure, go here, do this. So we hope you get on board and join us. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Roxanne. That's great. Okay, so moving immediately on to Cambridge Community Kitchen with Tim Morley. Tim, if you'd like to unmute, thank you. And Dinah will get the slides working. Great.
Yay! Okay, I'm here to talk to you about Cambridge Community Kitchen, which is a project that's coming up to 18 months old, and which I've been involved in since almost the beginning. As soon as I heard about it, I thought, yes, this is a cool thing. I would like to be involved with this, and I have been ever since. On our very first shift back in November 2020, we served 8 meals. I was not actually there. This was just before I got involved. But we have grown somewhat since then. From that small beginning, we have now grown. We've acquired a whole crowd of volunteers who help us out. Here are 2 of them. We have cooking volunteers on the left here. We can see somebody busy chopping. There's an awful lot of chopping of veg that goes on. On the right, we have a delivery volunteer. Most of the food that we cook is delivered. We inherit these Deliveroo bags, and our volunteers go out and deliver the food to people around Cambridge who ask for it. The condition for receiving the food is, did you ask for it? Okay, there you go. There's no checks, there's no gatekeeping. It's just, if you ask for food, you get food. That's it. We're now cooking something like 200 portions of food 3 times a week. That's an awful lot of food. Since we started, the total is something like 30,000 portions of food that we've cooked to date. We cook in large vats of hot vegan food. It's all vegan ever since the beginning. And we pack it into a large number of these pots, which go into the Deliveroo bags and get cycled and driven around Cambridge. Most of our deliverers cycle. Usually, at the moment, we have 9 delivery routes, 9 delivery volunteers who turn up every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Sunday. And they take their bag, and many of them go on the bikes. Some have cargo bikes or trailers like this here. A few drive. The map on the left shows the places that we go to. We cover the CB1 to CB5 area, and each cluster of coloured pins that you see there on the map is one delivery route. So there's kind of Arbury and King's Hedges and Chesterton and so on. We are based at a squatted pub. The whole thing runs from a squat. It's this pub, which used to be the Hotbine, is now known as the Lock-On. It closed 2 years ago now, and 3 years ago. A while ago. Anyway, 3 years, I think. 3 years. Yes, 3 years ago. It's the only squat I know that has a 4-star hygiene rating in the kitchen. Yay! That's rather cool. We got the kitchen inspectors in and they gave us 4 stars, which means we're allowed to supply food to various hostels and shelters and things around Cambridge who are not allowed to accept the food if we don't have a hygiene rating. We have a couple of community fridges outside, which are a bit of a landmark. They're painted in bright colours, and food is regularly put into there. This is food which doesn't get cooked. Fruit and bread and anything that we don't use in the kitchen can go in here, and people regularly take it. We have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the council, who came along and confiscated one of our fridges at one point, but that's all in the past. Simple Boatman here says, of course anarchists want to feed people. The problem is that it's always a curry rice burrito served at pocket temperature. We try not to fall into that trap too much. We measure the temperature religiously and record it as part of the kitchen inspection. We aim to provide healthy, wholesome, tasty food. Our website here, courtesy of the guy in the corner there, Dinaire, created the website for us, thank you, has 3 key buttons. You can click the orange button to volunteer, click the red one to request food, or click the green one in the corner to give us some money. We do get lots of veg donated, but we do still need to do some shopping. If you request food, your data lands here. This is all fictional data, I should add, in our clients and deliveries database, which has some magic scripts that group people together and sort them into the right order, which goes into the delivery app. It's all quite slick, which our deliverers take, and they get their list of addresses to deliver to. This is also fictional data. Attach it to the bike and follow it. And the pin that we put in the map is to the front door of the property. It's not just Google's best guess. It's quite well done. If you click the volunteer button, your data ends up in this spreadsheet. We have many spreadsheets. And here, again, we have lots of scripted magic going on here, and if we've got a few gaps in the rota, we can tick some of these boxes down the side and hit a button that says text these people and ask for help, and these texts are written and just go out. So, hi, Meryl was short of a cooking volunteer for a shift from 3 p.m. today. Let us know if you can help. Or at CCK, or at the bottom right, it goes out on Twitter as well. Hey, could you fill a gap in our rota for a delivery shift from 6 p.m. today? So we've got lots of these tools to kind of keep the admin burden to a minimum, but with no owners, no staff, no managers, nobody's paid, no full-time volunteers. The whole thing runs ad hoc. When people are free, they turn up and do stuff, and when they're not, they don't. And we're churning out 200 meals 3 times a week and getting them delivered to people's doors. That's quite good. It's not all fun and games. It's not all partying, I should say. Well, actually, no, this is a fundraiser that happened a little while ago to raise money for CCK in the backyard at the lock-on. It's a lot of fun. We've done a couple of such events, which are good fun, and got us some money in the pot as well. This page has been left intentionally blank. It's not because I ran out of inspiration and I was on the last minute to submit my slides. It's not that. It was so that I could fit in the last thing, which is to say that if you have any free time, we can always use enthusiastic volunteers. If you'd like to cook, if you'd like to deliver, if you'd like to clean the kitchen, deep cleaning. We have people coming deep cleaning once a week. Or if you're good at admin, fiddling with spreadsheets or programming, and you want to help with that, we would love to hear from you. The web address and the email address is there. Scan the QR code before it disappears. We're also on social media. You can find us there, Cambridge Community Kitchen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Wow, really good to hear how it all works. Amazing. Okay, so thank you, Tim. And moving on to Richard Mclean, who's going to tell us about Cambridge Curiosity and Imagination. Richard, you may need to unmute yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Richard, and as Anna said, I'm here today to talk to you about Cambridge Curiosity and Imagination. Cambridge Curiosity and Imagination, or CCI as we call it, is a local arts and wellbeing charity. It's small, but the work it does is vital. I'm chair of CCI's Board of Trustees, and I'm going to tell you a bit about the phenomenal work the charity does, and about how you can get involved in supporting that work by becoming a trustee. The charity works collaboratively with people of all ages to inspire more creatively healthy communities across Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. Communities that enjoy living, learning, and working together. Our work is guided by a vision of an inclusive and creative society. A society of individuals and communities for whom creativity is a valued part of their lives. A society that empowers people to become more fully themselves, more richly alive, and more responsive to our challenging, difficult, and yet beautiful world. Our relationships with the natural world are fundamental to everything that the charity does. Children are at the heart of our work. It's their ideas and questions that lead the way. Our approach is one of genuine co-creation, with a focus on developing a sense of agency for everyone involved. Now, as you know, Cambridge is a city of massive inequalities. Indeed, it's the UK's most unequal city. CCI helps people from disadvantaged backgrounds. For example, the charity is currently working with a school in Abbey, the most deprived ward in the city. CCI and the artists we work with give people opportunities to be creative, to work collaboratively with others, and to engage in the natural world. Opportunities that sadly they would not otherwise get the chance to experience. I'll never forget the story of one of the young children we worked with last year. His reaction when one of the artists was talking about them going outside together was to say, "Outside? That's where the bins go." And on reflecting about the experience afterwards, another child explained why it had been so special. You don't normally get the chance to go outside, but there's so much more time there, and you can be free. Now, Cambridge is a city of great beauty. Tourists come from miles around to enjoy a punt on the river. Yet some of the children we work with never normally get the opportunity to know the city's natural beauty. Indeed, CCI recently worked with a child in the city who had never even seen the river, for whom it might as well not exist. The charity helps people to connect with the natural world on their doorsteps, and the work is recognised and cited as an exemplar by research by colleagues at the University of Cambridge. The charity's work invites us to consider what children's education and learning could be like if we just open our imagination. In the Eco Capabilities programme, CCI enabled children to connect with each other and with nature, and showed how creativity and outdoors impacts on children's well-being. Through its Creative Care programme, CCI has developed resources that encourage a creative way of being in the world that supports our mental health and well-being. The co-created care packages help people to explore ways to reconnect with all their senses, and with the simple pleasures of noticing, listening, and of making and shaping things in order to express our own ideas. The programme was launched 2 years ago in response to the first lockdown, and the care packages brought relief and creativity to people at a time when face-to-face interactions were not allowed. Here's how one child described their impact. Being invited to be part of this project made me feel less alone. You don't have to be good at art. I got given a choice about what I could do. I'm normally the person who asks, what am I meant to be doing? But with the Creative Care box, you're told, you can do what you want with it. I felt I could be my own person and do what I wanted. I'm in awe of what CCI does and how it does it. Nothing gives me more pleasure or makes me more proud than being a trustee of this fantastic charity. Now, recently, a couple of trustees have stepped down from our board for personal reasons, and we've now identified the skills gaps that we have on our board. So we're particularly looking for people who've got skills, knowledge, experience in 3 areas: marketing, fundraising, and business development. So if you have experience in one of these areas, marketing, fundraising, or business development, or even if you don't have those specific skills, but you're passionate about wanting to actively support CCI and believe that your experience and expertise could be useful to the charity, please do get in touch. You don't need previous board experience. You don't need to have been a trustee before. We'll support you, and training's available too. So these positions, they could suit someone like you, perhaps, if you're taking your first steps to develop wider board level experience. We're an equal opportunities employer. We aim to have a diverse mix of skills and background amongst the members of the Board of Trustees. And so we encourage applicants from all backgrounds. I should just be clear that trustees aren't paid, of course. It's not a massive time commitment, but the input that you give can make a difference. We've got an information pack for interested, and if you want to know more, I'll put the link in the chat. and the deadline for the expressions of interest is Sunday, the 3rd of April, and we'll be making a decision shortly after that. So if you'd like to know more, please do get in touch.
Thank you very much, Richard. Great, lovely to hear more about CCI. Okay, lovely. So we now move on to hearing from Nikki Webb and Ruth Sapsed, who are going to tell us a bit more about Resettle Chesterton.
Our story begins here, walking our dogs endlessly around St Andrew's graveyard and worrying about the state of the world in general and the refugee crisis in particular. We wondered if there was something we could do as 2 women in Cambridge, as well as donating money.
We watched in horror as desperate people waited at the airport in Kabul or camped beside the train tracks in Belarus. And we wondered why so few people seemed to be offered a safe haven in the UK. Then we heard about the community sponsorship scheme, a Home Office scheme originally launched in 2016 as a way of resettling refugees in the UK.
This is different from the new scheme just announced in response to the Ukraine crisis. It's a legally binding arrangement that enables communities to be directly responsible for permanently resettling a refugee family in their area. Although refugees qualify for state benefits, community sponsorship groups are responsible for providing everything else families need to make a new life here.
Happily, there's a brilliant charity called Reset that devised the scheme with the Home Office. They provide loads of help, training and support for groups like us. We've already met other groups from all over the country, from the Isle of Skye to Cornwall.
Resettle Chesterton is the first community sponsorship group to be registered here in Cambridge, out of more than 300 groups around the country. It's already been an incredible journey, and we wanted to tell you about some of the hoops we've already jumped through.
There are 2 big initial hurdles. The first one is finding suitable accommodation for the family. The house needs to be available for a minimum of 2 years, and the landlord must accept a basic housing benefit rate. This already seemed impossible given the price of housing here in Cambridge.
But we crossed our fingers and put a call out via our local residents association last November. Within days, a neighbour offered us a house, secured for as long as we needed it, and at a rent determined by the benefit rate. We were totally astonished, just like that.
Next, we formed a steering group and became Resettle Chesterton, identifying people to lead on different areas. And this is our new logo designed by Hilary, who is here on this call. The only other group to be doing this in our county is in Godmanchester, and they've also been very supportive.
Each group needs to either themselves be a charity or identify one that will work with them as a lead sponsor. Both of us have run or currently run charities, and we didn't want to create another unless totally necessary. So we chose to work with Citizens UK, a national charity. They're working with at least 60 other groups and offer phenomenal support and guidance. So it seems obvious that we should work with them.
The other major challenge was fundraising. The Home Office requires groups to raise at least £9,000 to cover key costs for the family for a year. And Citizens UK also charges a fee to cover training and guidance.
We went public at the end of January, creating a Facebook page and Just Giving campaign, and appealing to neighbours and friends and putting the word out through all our networks. And the money really quickly began to roll in.
The response was really overwhelming, and we've quickly met our initial targets. So far, 149 people have given almost £15,000, and we're discussing as a group how we can extend our support to other local linked initiatives. We've already decided that we want to raise more funds so that we can support this family and others for longer than a year.
We're raising funds in lots of ways. A neighbour ran the half marathon for us, and a local teenager organised a dog show during one of our playing out afternoons. And here they are. And I even got told earlier today that people were coming from out of the area. The dog show was so popular, and that we're going to plan to do it again next year. There's a concert and a ceilidh planned too.
Of course, there is a huge amount to be done. We've been really overwhelmed with offers of help, lots of volunteers, but we must have processes in place for recruiting and training all the volunteers, registering the family with schools and healthcare, helping them to understand the benefits system, which is, as anyone who's ever been through it knows, no mean feat. Putting together an English teaching programme, writing a safeguarding policy.
We also have to work with the city and county councillors, the city and county councils who have to give their consent. That's an ongoing and at the moment a slightly slower process than we had hoped in view of officer workloads. And although we've been all ready to submit our application for some time, we're still waiting for letters of approval.
Once we've submitted it, the initial application will be matched with a family. And at that point, everything will become much more real. We'll be able to make more detailed plans based on that family's own circumstances and needs. And we hope that we'll be able to welcome them by September.
In due course, we'll need to furnish and equip the house too to make it a welcoming space for the family. We've gathered bits of donated furniture so far and also talked with friends at the Kareem Foundation about making sure we have the right food in the cupboards. The detail has been extraordinary.
It's a huge endeavour, but it does already feel like a valuable one and a life-affirming, enjoyable one to do. One more vulnerable family will be able to leave precarious and uncertain living conditions and begin a new life in our lovely city. We're amazed and delighted by the response, but we're only too well aware that our efforts are a drop in the ocean compared with the need.
It's clear this form of community sponsorship isn't widely known. So far, only a few hundred people have been resettled in the UK in this way. And now there's the added confusion with the version that's evolving to support Ukrainians. That's a vital challenge for us all too, and one we're all individually thinking about. But Resettle Chesterton remains committed to this more long-term and legally binding scheme. We're holding a Zoom meeting with Reset for others in our areas interested in forming their own group on Tuesday, the 5th of April. So do please join us.
We'll put the details on our Facebook page, or you can email us for an invitation. We may be the first group. Please don't let us be the last.
Thank you, Nikki and Ruth. So finally, we come to Claire Mackenzie, who's going to tell us about 6 inches of soil. Claire.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Mackenzie. I'm part of the production team in Cambridge, but it actually started before that, and I was more relevantly tuned in to talk of that. Was the background to it. We're trying to make we are in the middle of pre-production of a film to do with soil. Obviously it's in the name, and it's to do with regenerative farming, and it started in Cambridge, and here you can see one of the fields we started on, which is in Wilbraham. And I am also with Carbon Neutral Cambridge, and this is where the project started. We got funding from the local South Cambs Council, and we started our journey around Cambridge to explore the soils. Here you can see this lovely farmer, David White, who very kindly let us film, if anyone's seen it, from the ground up. And here he was breaking into a piece of compacted soil on his neighbour's field, which has been intensively farmed, is what you mostly see around here in Cambridgeshire. And it's become so solid that he was showing us this compared to what he has done on his land. And this has inspired us to make the film we're doing now, 6 inches of soil, because this farmer has been doing amazing things. And here you can see when we dug into what we call a cover crop, where he never has bare soil. And this was in November we shot, and he dug in, and his soil compared to the last slide is full of life. You can see the lovely worms, but beyond that, the fungi, the microbial, the mycelium, all the things that are hidden. I am no soil expert, but the whole point of us making a film, we are mostly creatives, we have academics, and we have other support, but we are going to use the farmers as the experts and others to visit and discuss. And it's what we did with the first film in Cambridgeshire. Now, this is his field. There's his full glory of these cover crops, a mixture of, you can see sunflowers, obviously, and there's vetch, and there's a Facilia, and there's many other wonderful plants which are feeding the soil, bringing nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, but naturally supplying it, not from a bag, but from a plant. And when people walk through his fields, which is a unique experience near Wilbraham, Hawk Mill Farm, we bumped into people who said the life form, the joy, the birds, the biodiversity, and the fact that he wasn't spraying, and he's cut down pretty much all of his inputs. Here was another field of Facilium where he has basically he was growing rapeseed or within that crop. It's incredible. So he was making money with a commodity crop, but at the same time feeding the soil and increasing nature and not damaging the countryside around him. And this is a man who's in his 60s who had done intensive farming, but turned to this because he's fallen in love with this regenerative farming, it's called, or agroecology is what we're really looking at, which is when you go beyond farming techniques, but bringing people and nature into it. This is David himself. You can see on the left the over-intensively farmed land, and on the right, his land, which his soil and land is being regenerated. Now, the wonderful bit to this story is I've just learned from David himself, who's continually supporting our work, that the farmer on the left, due to our filming, is now considering changing and starting to farm in a more regenerative fashion, closer to nature. So it's an amazing result, and it can show that impact campaign films, as we have done with From the Ground Up locally, but the film we are now on the journey of making next, 6 Inches of Soil, can help. Then we also went to a very intensely farm up to, which obviously extremely controversial, up into the deep peatlands, and this is on G's Fresh. As many of you will know, they're some of the largest vegetable producers in Britain, certainly, and they have a global stake and they have farms in Spain. But this was Charles Shropshire, who is the son of John Shropshire, and they're the family that own it, and they are trying to farm regeneratively on peat, which is extremely hard to do. So have continual covered crops, not tills, so not ploughing so much, to protect this incredible peat. Then this is Martin Lyons. If any of you have heard about him, he's an incredible man, and one reason being is he spends his entire time, if he's not farming hard near Caxton, he leads the Nature Friendly Farming Network, which is really a good organization to look into and to understand of what farmers are trying to do, working close to nature. He spends his time lobbying DEFRA and talking to people like George Eustace to make a difference and to try and to change the ways and get other farmers to farm in his way. And he has had a huge impact in his area. There is now a fabulous group of farmers, including a man called Tom Pearson. You can see here, this is also on many of them obviously put to stewardship, and that's funding from government, to have these wildlife areas. And you will see many of these in corners of Cambridgeshire, hopefully, although too many farmers farm around here to the margins. But if you're lucky enough and you keep your eyes open, you will have these areas which are planted up specifically for nature. This is feeding birds. It's like a natural bird table. When we were there, the noise and the joy was incredible, amazing place to walk. So look out for these. It was actually on a farm nearer us, where I'm in Barrington, but this is nearby. So these are finally finishing with David's sunflowers, which were out in November. And the first film we did, you can find the Carbon Neutral Cambridge website, From the Ground Up, and we also have some other vignettes. Please share them. They're a free resource and they're an amazing way of spreading the word. And talk to your farmers locally, talk to people about it, and look out for good food that's grown in this way. And the film we're producing at the moment is 6 Inches of Soil. Director is Coraline Ramsey, who has Dragonlight Productions, and I'm the producer. But we also have James Murray White, who's here tonight, who's an advisor and very much part of the creative team. And we also have other amazing people with us. We'd love you to follow our journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Really interesting to hear about that project. Great. Well, lovely to hear on such a diverse range of topics. It's just amazing, really, isn't it? Just a few kind of closing comments from me, if that's all right. So first of all, a very, very big thank you to all our speakers. Just want to acknowledge that Pecha Kucha is not the easiest format to give a talk to. So really, so many thanks to you all for giving your time tonight to tell us about your organizations. Really appreciated. This is our first event in this series. We would love your feedback on what works, what doesn't. So please do feel free to drop us an email. So just to say that we are also looking for volunteers. So if anyone would like to get involved in the Cambridge Resilience Web, we'd love to hear from you. We've got lots of different roles. We really are just a group of people creating something and following where the energy is. So please do get in touch. We'd also love donations because we do have some running costs because we host web things and so on. So at opencollective.com, here's the link. We'll put all these in the chat. If you'd like to present your organisation at our next event, we'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already explored the Cambridge Resilience Webs, I highly recommend it. They are things of beauty. So do have a little look. And I think that brings us to the end. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you again to our speakers. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you all very much. Thank you to the huge team of Cambridge Resilience Web that made this happen. Bye-bye.